when people talk about black women being obese. I hate it because it becomes a way to blame us for a set of conditions that we didn't create. We're moving, we're taking care of kids, but our food quality suffers. We are living in the Trump era. And look, those policies kill our people. You can't get access to good health care, good insurance. The research says that black women, when we do the same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower, even when we're following the diet, than our white women counterparts. And what public health practitioners think is that our stress responses in the body change our metabolism. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Carl Tone Jones. We are here breaking down, is racism a contributing factor to the rising obesity rates in Black America? Are diets racist? We're here to break that down. Now, off top, me looking at that clip, my first thought when I first saw this video years ago, there's a longer edition of this. I just could not find it. But even at that time and this time when I first saw this, I was like, okay. No. So I want to, like, my first thought is this sounds crazy, but that's why we're here to break this down. We're here to break this down and really get to the crux of this, look at some statistics to see, is she right? Is she wrong? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I in the way I'm thinking about it? So let's jump into it. And racism has made us obese. So PC, let's start with you. Like, you know, we start with the clip. Overall thoughts. When you first saw the first clip and the second clip, put them both together. What are your thoughts? You're on mute. What are your thoughts about it?
All I can say is there a component to racism about in terms of our diet? You know, structurally, Henry Kissinger went out and generated the war on the third world, which basically was like white splaining to say that, you know, people who are not who don't identify as Caucasians in the world. That was in the, I believe that was in like 1974. He presented that to the United Nations. And so there's some validity to that in terms of in our community where we don't get the freshest food. We have a lot of food deserts in our community and so forth. So there's some validity there. Now, in terms of the foods we do choose to access and the way we live, you know what I'm saying, it's not something we can't counter. So to say those things is to render us powerless to do anything about it. Yes, is it structural racism to flood our communities with bodegas and corner stores that, you know, serve us processed foods and processed meats? Yeah, but can you do something about it? Absolutely. You have whole communities that have decided that they're going to start growing and farming food. They build a network of greenhouses. They have co-ops that they produce. So, and actually, the food is relatively cheaper in those particular locations because the people that are part of the co-ops actually invest in those things. So, you know, yeah, it's structural racism, but to say to blame us for gaining weight and being out of shape and this, that, and the other, I think that's a little absurd at this point, especially in 2023, where everybody has a car, access to those places. There is no segregation anymore. There's some communities you might not want to frequent, but there are fresh, you know, supermarkets that serve fresh food. We have farming communities that provide those types of food. The problem is we want everything Instacart. We want everything microwavable. We don't want everything quick, fast, in a hurry because we spend too much time focused on leisure and not enough time focused on getting ourselves healthy. Does stress, cortisol, and bad cholesterol, does that affect our health? Yes, it does. But now that you know it, it's up to you to do something about it. So I land my plane right there.
Okay, that's a quick land. So I mean, yes. Structural racism exists, like you said. That we do have food deserts, we do have the stress levels, all these factors do exist, but it's a disingenuous pitch. Let's just call it. Let's just put it on the table. It's a disingenuous pitch what she's pitching. But I'm gonna just say that piece right there to leave a cliffhanger and go ahead and go to Pat. What's your overall thoughts on the clip?
So I'm gonna play a game. I've been thinking about this, right? I'm gonna play the game that I've been playing with most of the people that I've been talking to, right? Over the last few months. The game is called Baby You Right. Right?
How does thou play that game, Pat?
We're gonna have a nice demonstration right now with this, because PC hit on a lot of great points. In terms of, like, you know, adding a lot of validity and credibility to what she was saying, while also, you know, letting us know that it's not that simple. It ain't what she's saying. There's some kernels of truth.
Right.
Well, where I'm gonna go with it is just say, baby, you're right. You're 100% right. Stress, right, which can be caused by racism, can cause the body to release cortisol. She's 100% right. PC touched on that.
High cortisol levels. Yeah.
After the adrenaline rush that you get from being in the fight or flight mode, which is typically what a stress response is, you get cortisol pumped in to increase your ability to function with a lot of energy, right? So you get insulin flooded through your system, right? Hello, type 2, right? You get all of these other things that are going to happen. Sugar cravings increase. Food cravings in general increase. The hormones like leptin and all these other things that tell your body you're full, stop eating, those get negatively impacted. Hormonal or emotional eating kicks in. All these things kick in that get you to a place to where not only are you having cravings to eat, but your desire to feel full is lower. All of that stuff is true, right? All of that stuff is 100% fat. Not only that, your body fights to control, to maintain fat stores. It shuts down certain unnecessary processes that are deemed unnecessary. So your metabolism might slow down, so more energy can be devoted towards other things like getting you out of danger or consuming stuff to make sure you have energy to get out of the danger. All of these things are true. So your metabolism might be slow. You feel fuller, slower. You're hungrier. You're emotional, and you're craving food. All of these things like that, that's a recipe for being unhealthy. So, baby, you're 100% right. You know what the greatest counter to stress is? Exercise. Exercise. Look, baby, you're right. How much do you exercise? Because exercising ain't so that you can lose weight. It's for body recomposition, building muscle so that you maintain mobility, fitness ability, and the ability to move and maintain space. But it's also for lowering stress levels so that all those things that you're talking about don't have as big an impact on you as possible. Now, the truth of the matter is, you can eat whatever you want. Like, in food quality matters, but it doesn't matter to the point that they're trying to make. Because there are a lot of people that have poor quality food that are not overweight. The problem you're having is that you eat more than you burn. That's simple. Portion control, lady. Like, so now we're talking about discipline. You know what else causes a lot of stress? She didn't say racism. She didn't say it. She said racism. You know what causes more stress than racism? Constantly looking for ways to be the victim.
Yes.
That causes a shitload of stress. So if racism is causing you to gain 5 pounds, I would say refusing to accept accountability is causing you to gain 10, 15.
Yeah.
So, but even to the other point she made, like, look, it's been well known black people body densities are different than white people's. Why are you? The scale is not even what you should be looking at if you're worried about being fit and healthy. Like the scale is not. You think people in fitness competitions, like the all of those people, you think all of them are in some of the? I've seen a guy. I saw a dude the other day. He was 5'9", 170 pounds, 75 pounds, right? According to the BMI, he overweight. 5'9", 175 pounds. But he was fit. He wasn't jacked, but he was jacked enough to where you could see this brother's not overweight. But
That
if he step on the
175 was muscle.
scale, yeah, if he step on the scale, he gonna have some problem. Stop looking at the fucking scale.
Look at body composition. Look at body composition. Nah, but so
right there.
So the angle I'm taking is, I just thought about, well, for one, I've been an athlete and been in the fitness world or around the fitness world pretty much my whole life. It's to date a young lady who was a trainer. I know a whole bunch of trainers, and I see specifically black women. I see black women losing weight all the time. Not a lot of black women, but I see the black women. No, just being real, because most black women and most black men don't work out like this shit, right? But the black women who I see, and I'm saying black women because that was a black woman in the clip. The black women that I see who work out on a regular basis and actually take it serious, they lose weight. So working out is, like you said, that's a key factor. But the diets that we have, yes, food isn't what it used to be. We all know food isn't what it used to be. But I just can't accept her saying, or anybody saying, that racism is the main reason or one of the biggest contributing factors to the rising obesity rates in Black America. Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I push back on the food quality argument in general.
I'm gonna get to
talking about fitness, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I'm food quality in relation to fitness. That's what you're saying. Because I was just gonna hit on
I'm
food
saying
quality
food
overall.
quality in relation to obesity. If we're talking food quality in relation to general fitness, I get it. But if we're talking food quality in relation to obesity, that's not the hill we want to go to fight.
Right. But also, I mean, we can just look at history. If we look at history, we can see that Black people faced more stress, more danger, more in-your-face racism. Talk about high cortisol levels. Let's go back 100 years. But matter of fact, if we go back to the 1970s, to before the 1970s, the obesity rate isn't as near as what it was, isn't as near as what it is now. If we just go back to the 1970s. So why wasn't obesity rates skyrocketed out of the atmosphere 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago? We were moving. Because we got to realize that if we even go back to the 1970s, more Black people were moving. We're more sedentary now. We move less and we eat more. And that's just Americans. The American obesity rate has skyrocketed. So what is her reason for the obesity rate in America itself skyrocketing?
Well, I don't think she has a dog to fight. I don't know shit. I hit on something before. This whole notion of fighting real hard to be a victim. The perennial victims.
Yes.
Is not, accountability And we used to say it's like kryptonite, but I saw a better comparison. Accountability is like sunlight to a vampire, and in a lot of these situations, man. And so it comes down to, you know, people basically just being accountable for where they are and what they're doing in their circumstance and situation. If there's a meteor coming toward Earth and we can actually do something about it, I'm not going to be one of those people crying around, "Woe is me," the end of days. Nah, but we're going to be working on how to, blow that shit out the sky. You know what I'm saying? At least salvage as much of the Earth as we possibly can. But we have too many of our people who are comfortable being victims, because once you're a victim, you don't have to do anything about your situation or circumstances. You can just lay there, and no matter what happens, it's somebody else's fault. There's no
Right.
culpability to your situation. Now I can recall back in when the Nuremberg trials occurred in I believe it was 1947, 1948, the end of World War II, when they had all the Nazis on trial, and they asked them, why did you consistently uh you know follow, why did you consistently kill your the Holocaust victims? And the thing they said was, "Well, we were just following orders." And um, there was a scientist by the name of Dr. Milgram who did an experiment 15 years later where they actually showed the type of, you know, um, same type of obedience to authority, in which people were pressing the button on an imaginary buzzer that they thought they were dealing lethal electric shocks to people, and like
Mhm.
40% of the people actually followed through based on that. Well, that's that's based on responding to some type of authority to consistently mindlessly follow through in a certain type of behavior. We don't have that here. We have evidence, we have doctors, we have naturopathists, I believe that's what they're called, natural doctors,
Naturopathic. Yeah, naturopathic
natural,
doctors.
yeah, naturopathic, homeopathic. We have all of those in place everywhere, with proper diets, with
Man,
proper instructions, working out. We have, I mean, fitness videos, uh, books. It's just
Dick
like
Gregory
it's
was
everywhere.
Dick Gregory was one of the biggest health gurus or biggest faces, and he wrote specific books. We had black people talking about diets and being healthy 50 years to 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah. So where we are right now with it all, you know what I'm saying? It really, listen, I'm in supermarkets all the time, and I'm down the way. I see what goes in people's carts. It's the worst type of food you can fucking believe. Um, it's the type of foods that are causing major issues with digestion, causing there's all these different dehydrated and hydrated oils and saturated oils that are added to a lot of the food, the MSG, all these
Taste
different
is
things that
more
the people
important.
are. Yeah, well, the sugar addiction is more important because that's the main
That too.
ingredient in all this other stuff,
That too.
and um, and that's why a lot of people don't, you know. But but it's funny, right? Because as I'm watching the second video, which is even more hilarious,
We haven't even got to that
talking
yet.
about the
That's yeah, that's crazy. The diet is
you know what
racist
I'm
because
saying?
because you can't eat what you like to
Right.
eat, so the diet is racist. Okay, okay,
Ain't
okay.
nobody telling us
That's
shit.
just
Go ahead,
that's
do what you
that's
want.
that that's pure laziness. Let's just call it what it is. Too many of us
I
have
think,
gotten lazy. Too many of us have gotten lazy when it comes to our personal health. let's just call it men, black men and black women. At least black women go to the doctor with theirs. Black men, we don't even go to the doctor with ours. But we have gotten lazy when it comes to our health, and we take advantage of the things that make our life more convenient, that allows us to have a more sedentary lifestyle. Like, you have to get up and move. You have to exercise. I know that.
No,
yeah, Instacart, all this stuff, DoorDash, it's messed up.
Well, and I want to say this. I was looking on my computer trying to find the study that I read. And if I find it, I'll send it to you guys. And Joe, you can, do whatever you want with it. But it was a study, and it talked about how they did a review. Because I used to be on the move shit too until I started really looking into it. It ain't even the movement, because all the way up until the 90s, physical exertion in America had stayed static relatively. Like, we didn't start to really drop off in terms of physical movement until the 2000s.
Right.
But like you pointed out, in the 70s, there started to be a shift in weight gain.
Yep.
So that the shift in weight gain started 30 years prior to the decrease in activity levels. What started in the 70s that we don't really talk about is that portion sizes started to increase. So that's where I keep going into the fact of the matter is we're eating more than we used to. Hamburgers, French fries, and sodas are now 2 to 5 times larger than they were when they first came out.
Remember when we were young, the size of a small, like we go to McDonald's and the small drink was a small drink. Now a small drink, if you could actually take a small drink and fill up a large cup.
Yeah, they don't even make certain candy bars in the regular size no more. You can only get them in king size. The share size for the Skittles, the large packet, you can only get certain candy bars in their larger variety. They don't even make unless you get the fun size joints. And we already know the psychology behind fun size shits is the same psychology that fucks people up when it comes to grapes.
Right.
If you can just throw them in your mouth real quick, that's what you tend to do. So, back when we were growing up, candy bars was small and they came in one size. I ain't started seeing king size candy bars till I was a teenager. You start looking, them bitches was huge back then. Like, they was ginormous. That's what my memory is. You look at them now and you like, that's a regular candy bar. But growing up, that thing was a monstrosity. Like, getting a king size Snicker, I could munch on that all day growing up. Nowadays, you see people in school killing whole packs of Swiss rolls, giant size. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? You look at cooked pasta, right? Cooked pasta is now 400. A serving size is 480% larger. Muffins, I pulled these up. Muffins are now 333% larger. Steaks are 224% larger. Bagels are 195% larger. Some of the largest excesses nowadays are 700% larger than the USDA recommended portion size. And keep in mind, the government regulated portion sizes are also larger than they were back in the day. So we're just eating too much food. Look, lady, you can eat your fried banana rice, fried whatever it is you're trying to eat. You just can't eat a whole bunch of it.
Right, but that's where we are. But that mixed with the victim mentality, that's what's literally killing us. Eating more with the victim mentality of, especially this lady. I'm bigger because of the system of racism that we live up under. So I'm going to continue to eat. I'm not going to exercise because there's a, like I said, there's a longer clip of this, and I seen something earlier where toward the end the larger lady was talking to a smaller lady, and the smaller lady was more like a exercise lady, and she was telling her basically what we're saying. You don't have to be a victim of your circumstance. You don't have to be a victim of racism. And I just think that's a horrible mindset to have. It's a horrible way to think. Dr. Amos Wilson talks about that consciousness, that implanting of a foreign consciousness within us, right? So that foreign consciousness within us is laced with victimization. It's laced with I can't or we can't because of this. And it's like, well, no, we're not even going to entertain that, because we have scores and scores and scores and scores and scores of examples of Black people who, when they put the time in and the dedication, we all personally know people, plenty of people who, when they put the time and the dedication in to losing weight and or getting fit, and they stayed consistent with it, and they did it in a proper way, they met their goal. They met their goal. You can't sit here and try to convince me that we are obese. So, or the biggest reason we're obese is because of racism. No, well, not buying.
We got the proof right here in the chat. PC has put in the work. He's lost weight. I've put in the work. I lost 100 pounds at this point. Like we have, look, it's not. So when you sitting at home eating your little Debbie cake, is that racism? Is that what you saying? Like, no, lady, no.
Hold on. It's racism because the black on the outside and the white cream is on the inside. First racism.
Gotcha. See, you ain't thinking that.
You know what? That's also why they say Black men are the enemy, because our ejaculate is white.
Okay.
But you know what? That's also why they say men are the enemy, because right, like the perfect man, right? 6 foot tall, 6 figures, 6 inch, 666, mark of the beast. We're all the Antichrist.
Like, but I thought it was funny though. She said we live in the Trump era. Lady. Obesity rates were skyrocketing before Trump even thought about running for president. Before Trump was even nominated for president. I'm just saying, like that was just insane to just say we living in the Trump. I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? Let's just call it what it is. Now, go ahead.
It's bullshit.
It is. Let's just call it what it is.
It's just the way to be a professional. And I'm gonna sound like Ted. What's y'all governor down there in Florida? What's his name again? DeSantis. This woke shit is out of control.
It is.
Everybody's hypersensitive and finds a reason to try to excuse why they're in the situations they're in. Instead of saying that we need to have societal norms, which comes with culture, we want to create all this anarchy that only serves our personal interests, but the society as a whole is falling apart. You sitting here preaching this nonsense. There's a 7 or 8 year old girl that's going to overhear this, 7 or 8 year old boy that's going to overhear this, and now you are programming them to accept being overweight, overeating. You're giving them, carte blanche to practice and develop unhealthy habits, and this is destructive to the community, because we want to be strong and bold, but we don't want to hold anybody accountable. We don't want to create boundaries. And that's what culture does. Culture creates boundaries. This is why so many people rebel against religion, because religion comes with culture, and religion comes with boundaries and rules. And a lot of those things we don't want to follow, because the rules we don't see a way where we can take advantage of those rules, or the rules don't put us in a preferable position. So instead of working to get in those positions, we want to sit here and create a stigma against the thing that has actually maintained a society for since the beginning of time. And I'm not just talking about this Eurocentric society. I'm just talking about period in terms of
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, us on earth. So
Yeah,
if you don't have norms and everything is policed,
yeah,
have you ever been in a place where there has been no security? Have you let a city have a blackout and then you talk about the lack of policing? Well, that's societally wise, socially wise. That's what we're doing right now. We're trying to create a situation where there's no boundaries. Meanwhile, you become, because most people eventually become dependent on a system to help correct the wrongs that they accrued along their lives. In other words, a lot of these people are going to develop health ailments that are going to cost the society that has to take them in, but they don't have any, accountability for that. They don't want to be accountable for that now. So later, they want everybody else to be accountable for taking care of them.
yeah,
And you create,
yeah.
a system that cannot maintain that way.
We yeah. We need to stop saying using the word strength so loosely, because a lot of things that we call strengths are not strengths. It's and it's you can endure stuff, but that don't make you necessarily make you strong. Being a continuing to be a victim is master strength. And this is one of the ultimate victim mentalities that we can have. And this actually makes us weak. It makes us weaker. It makes us weaker mentally. And this is leading to an obese lifestyle, which is making us weaker physically, making us weaker emotionally, spiritually. Everything about us is becoming weaker when this specific victim mentality that leads to I am obese because we live in a racist society. That's weak. And that's a weak mindset, and it's going to lead to a weak future, and it's going to put us in a position that's even less powerful. We're going to become more powerless. We're going to be less respected. We're going to be less viable. We're going to be less capable of doing what we need to do to build ourselves up to become a stronger group of people, to become a more competitive group of people. Now, we talk about food quality. Yes, the overall food quality is not what it was, just overall across the board. But even in a lot of the low income communities and things that a lot of Black people exist in. So I can't speak on other cities, but I can speak on Tallahassee, Florida. Why? Because I'm deep in these streets. And if you don't believe me, I'm not even going to try to prove it. Just come to Tallahassee and ask around, right? So Frenchtown and Southside are the predominantly Black neighborhoods, as well as my community, the Providence community. Um, Up the street, there's a community garden. In the middle of Frenchtown, there's a community garden. On the south side, there are two community gardens. Southside has a Piggly Wiggly that actually has pretty good produce. We also have a flea market that has good quality produce that's cheap. We have a farmer's market every Saturday in Frenchtown. So the main communities that are considered the food deserts here have community gardens, and not only community gardens, but people who are programs that are put together to help people create healthier meals. We have food distributions in these areas on a weekly basis. We just had my organization, we just had a big food distribution last Thursday. We're having another food distribution on the 21st. Food distributions are all throughout these communities. Like one of the communities I'm thinking about, the South Side by the Hollyfield Projects, the community garden is walking distance from the Hollyfield Projects, and the church that sit on the outskirts of the projects, they do a food drive, and the church that's on the other side of the projects, they do a food drive. And in the Frenchtown community, not only do we have the food drives and the community gardens, but there are two Black-owned vegan restaurants in these areas. What I'm saying, We have options. If we go to the north side of town, there's a Fresh for Less. Fresh for Less is the same thing as Piggly Wiggly. It's fresh food, fresh produce that's might not be the highest quality, but it's not poor quality produce. It's good produce at a reasonable price. We have access to these things, like I said, and I'm only talking about my city because this is the community that I'm deep into. So I know other communities do mirror my city. There are communities that are worse, there are communities that are better. But if I'm just going off of that, we have access to these things. We just have to access them. That's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest issues we're having in doing our community work is we have all these resources available, but people aren't accessing these resources.
Well, I want to make 2 points. One, I want to go back to your point about strength, right? Because I'm finding that word has become one of them interesting words that people say, but they don't really think about the definition of it.
Yep.
All right. So when I say strength, and I clarify this anytime I'm having a conversation, particularly with people that are throwing it around loosely, I use dictionary definition number 2 when I'm talking about people. And I got to source that so that they know that this ain't just a Patrick definition. No. I'm using an official, because English is an official language. Now, we understand you communicate long as people understand what you're saying, you good. And I get that. But the problem is, I don't know what y'all saying. So, and I looked it up to make sure that it ain't changed. And it ain't changed. So I'm still looking at it. The capacity of an object to sustain or withstand a great force or pressure. The capacity of an object, or substance to withstand great force or pressure, right? That's dictionary definition number 2. That's the one that makes most sense when you're talking about people. Look, baby, if you are dealing with racism and it is causing your health to fail, that is not a sign of strength. If you, as a community, if we are dealing with something that is causing us to fail and fall apart, we are not being strong in that moment. And that's something we need
just
to
ain't
address.
died yet.
Right. Like, that's something we need to, like, you're enduring, but you are not showcasing strength. Right. So that's one issue. The other issue I think we need to address, well, I'm going to say 3 and then I'm going to shut up. But the other issue I think we need to address goes to your point of the food deserts. If Black people were chronically thin and still unfit, or even chronically overweight and still unfit, I would point to the food quality argument. Like, I would point to it then. When we cross into the realm of obesity on the rates that we have, that is an intake problem. Don't matter what you intake. You could be intaking the best quality food in the world. If you're intaking a lot of it, you're going. So, but then the third point I want to make is we do need to talk about the social aspect of this. And even to the health aspect. Look, I know a lot of y'all say we got health conditions. That's 5% of you. Stop it. Stop it. You're lying. Okay. And to the 5% of you that do actually have a health problem, that you struggle with weight, all right, I'm sorry. To the other 95% of you, you're lying. Stop it. So, the other part, though, is the social aspect, which is this belief that the vast majority of Black men, or men, period, nowadays, want a woman and encourage women to be morbidly obese. And that is simply not true. We need to stop with that. Like, this is one of the areas where men have been allowing other people to speak for them, or they've been trying to play this game to get some ass because they don't care about the quality of the ass, just like they don't care about the quality of the food. We got to stop that. Like, and I like thick women. So it's not that I'm saying there's a problem with thick women, but you can be healthy and be thick.
Right.
And there's a difference between being thick and being morbidly obese. And we got to be confident enough and strong enough. This is real strength comes into play there. Because when you say somebody like, and it's a whole thing now, not taking no shot, but we talk about Lizzo-sized women. It's not a shot at Lizzo, but that's what people say.
That's the term that they use.
Right. She is obese, but when you say that, men got to be strong enough to withstand the great force and pressure that is going to descend on them when they say that. That's where strength needs to come into play. And that's where the black community as a whole needs to say, look, no, we're not doing that. You want body positivity? Cool. No, we're not doing that.
Yes. Yeah. But also, she talked about access to good food and quality foods and all these things here and policies and all these things here. I hear her, but I think about, because when we talk about access to food deserts, wasn't like majority of America a food desert like during the Great Depression? So how did we eat during the Great Depression? Didn't we farm? Didn't we have to farm and catch food? PC?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, we did. And in
I'm
fact,
just saying.
how black people survived throughout the Great Depression weren't nearly as affected throughout the Great Depression. I mean, shit, black men couldn't get jobs. Vagrancy laws stopped us from getting jobs. So we definitely had to find different ways to eat and feed our family. So yeah.
But according to her, then obesity rates should have been very high during that time, according to her logic, but they weren't. But also, when we talk about a remedy to food deserts, remember, we chose not to grow our own food anymore. I'm gonna say it again. We, as black people in America, we chose not to grow our own food.
Well,
anymore.
hold on, Joe. PC, correct me if I'm wrong. Right? We did not choose to not grow our own food anymore. What happened was the WYTE man came in and took all the land, all of it, every last single drop of it, and we couldn't grow food anymore. And then they didn't invent styrofoam until 2015.
So hold on,
so we couldn't even do hydroponics.
So they took even the land that my family owned in Gainesville, that my grandma's
Your
house
family
is
just
on.
got that, Joe. Your family just got that, Joe. Don't act brand new.
My bad. Dang. But
Go
also,
ahead,
So wait a minute. So there is some legitimacy to the millions of acres of black farmers farmland that was taken, and the distribution in terms of black farmers down getting back bad seed to row. So there's some legitimacy to that. But in terms of that access to food, we have seen such innovative ways to generate our own food. It's just basically you got to have the will to do it, and then you have to be committed to it. And see, it's easier to just go get a 4 for $4 than to sit here and water your plants and consistently deal with
you're saying we got to work.
your agricultural plot. I mean, you can put plots in your backyard. They got standing gardens now that you can put together. You can build a standing garden. They got instructional,
community garden.
DIY. Well, I mean, but you listen. You just said the magic word though. Community. We don't fucking have one. And that's the biggest reason why we're dealing with all this. And that's why you got on a white talk show talking about how racism stops them from eating good food. And I'm sorry, we don't ever see men doing this shit. So that's why I got to point out that these chicks is out here trying once again to become a victim to some shit they control. You control what you put in your mouth. Your body, your choice. Your mouth, your choice. You control that shit. Bruh. The Atlantic mouth You know what the Atlantic Molly is? That's what I've been spending my last. Because I remember like hearing the story. Right? There's an Atlantic killfish that's similar to a minnow that was bred and designed to live in toxic water, toxic bacteria filled, toxic stew of chemicals and all types of. There's a specific fish. They can't live in fresh water. They can't live in salt water. They can only live in this toxic stew. This is where Black America is right now. And that's why, like, when I saw the topic, I was like, God damn. But I said, okay, we're going to have to get through this because it is a serious factor. See, Shahrazad Ali, what got her in the fire is she said she started doing research for a book, how to, what's the title of the book again?
The Black Man's Guide to Understanding Black Women.
Thank you. First reason she did that shit is because Black men were saying they wanted to eat healthier, but their wives would not cook them healthy food.
Yep.
All their wives wanted to cook them with chitlins, pig feet, ham, hog mods, pork chops, and they wanted to get off the pork, but they didn't cook in their houses, and that's why that led her down the rabbit hole and got her to being the most hated Black woman in America for at least 25 years. Okay.
Yeah.
This whole notion of consistently wanting to sit up there and articulate bullshit because we don't want to fix what's wrong is the biggest problem in our community. We would rather sit there and pontificate on bullshit instead of fixing what is wrong. What is wrong is our diets. Let's scale back. Let's study Caribbean and African cultures that are not obese, that we share genetics with. Let's study their diets and let's start eating those foods. They eat a whole bunch of rice. They got a whole jollop rice. They got a whole bunch of rice and beans, refried beans in the Caribbean. Why? But they're not gaining weight like we are. They're not obese like we are.
Lifestyle.
Sure,
Their whole lifestyles are different.
We can create that in our own community too. We stop trying to compete with the Joneses. No pun intended. But if we stop trying to compete with white daddy and white mommy and stop trying to be like them, we stop trying to mirror them in every way, shape, or form, and we stop trying to make our hair like theirs, and we stop trying to, create our social and caste systems like theirs, then maybe, just maybe, we can just look inward for the solutions instead of looking outward. Because let's say the lovely ladies were right. That racism, white supremacy is the reason for the obesity. If racism, white supremacy is the reason for your obesity, what do you expect the racist white supremacists to do about it? By telling them it's unfair, what changes, what structure and instrumental changes in society are going to take place because you did that?
Within that, you did ask a good question. Okay, because that is something to think about. Let's just say the lady is correct that racism is the reason that we're obese. So what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit down and just become more obese, or are you going to work to not be more obese? But we're at a point to where people's feelings are more important than actual real change in our community, and that's sad. We're really concentrating more on coddling people's feelings and making people feel good about the decisions that they made that are not good.
Well,
and that's crazy.
I think even when we start analyzing these diets, because one, I'm like, why are you even tripping about the keto diet, baby? That's not even
like, baby, stop that. That's stupid. Come on, man. You just admit it. It's not that the diet is that keto diet is racist. You just don't want to give up the foods.
Well, I mean, let's be honest though. I mean, one, she showed a clear lack of understanding of what racism is, even if she was joking. But two, like when we start having these, because here's the problem, right? A lot of people are in these conversations and they haven't studied the human body. Like, and I don't mean studied as in like they got PhDs. I mean, like, do you know how your digestive system works? Do you know how your body turns food into energy? Do you know what fat is? Like this, some of the basic questions that you probably need to ask if you're serious about body recomposition. Like, have you, if you're gonna go on a diet like the keto diet, have you looked up the information to see its long-term viability? Like I talk to so many people that are doing these like the limited time period eating diets, you know, and they haven't even addressed the psychological aspect of it. Yeah, okay, you can only eat for 8 hours out of the day, but your brain know that too. So guess what happens? You eat all 5,000 calories in that 8 hour time period because you ain't got no other controls in place. I can only eat from 12 to 5. So guess what your brain does? You eat everything you want to eat from 12 to 5, and then you go to bed early. And you wake up the next day and do it. You're not counting calories. You're not weighing your food. You're not doing none of that. The same thing with the keto diet. They talk about the keto flu. First off, anything that you transition to that makes you sick as you adjust to it is probably not doing good long-term things for you.
But
probably.
Also, one of the points she made about the diets don't work the same for Black women and white women. I mean, research has showed that diets don't work. Period, for anybody, for any women, they don't work.
Right, but she already showed her ignorance because she talking about a scale. Baby, look, you could drop 100 pounds on the scale and still be unhealthy. So what are we talking about? Just like a dude, like a dude could weigh 100 pounds more than me right now and be 100 times more fit than me and whoop my ass. Or likewise, the opposite could be true. I get like weight has little to do with fitness and health.
Fat. It's fat. Well, be specific. Be specific. It's fat. It's the accumulation of fat in your body. Because when I'm saying this, so when he's talking about weight, remember, muscle weighs more than fat. So a man at my size, I'm 5'10". So if a man is 220, according to the scale, like Pat said earlier, that man is obese. He's overweight because he's at 220 pounds. But that 220 pounds is muscle. Now, if he was 5'10", 220 pounds, and that 220 was fat, he is unhealthy and he's obese. That's the difference.
Well, go ahead, PC.
Too many people want shortcuts. They want the overnight solution.
Well, we know
they don't want to actually
drink water.
They don't have the They don't have the capacity in this short range, short attention span era and time to, first of all, too many people are in their cell phones too much to actually want to do anything. I'll go to the track. I see people getting on the track. I'm gonna tell you, I see some serious people on the track. They get in there, they get their work in, they get their laps in, or they walk in, and they walk for hours. Or they're working out and they're doing side workouts, this, that, and the other. They're doing the lines on the football field, squats, crunches, thrust, all those things. Then I see people come and they typically with their friends and they're walking around about the most leisurely. I'm talking about 45 minutes to do a lap, stopping every 2 minutes on the phone, go sit in the bleachers for another half hour, and then they leave. And then they'll tell people that they're at the track working out. I've seen people in the gym, all they do is take selfies. You know what I'm saying? It's that you can't fake this. And all of a sudden everybody has a fucking thyroid issue. You can't fake this, man. You have to actually get out there and work. And you know what I'm saying? And listen, are there ebbs and flows? Do you have to take some time off every once in a while? Sure. But the bottom line is consistency overall. If you consistently work on something, that's why they come out with a new gadget every year for people to work out, because they realize people want to get this shit done quick, fast, in a hurry. Especially this time of the year. Everybody's gonna have a New Year's resolution. That's why the gyms are full of people between now and like February. By March, that shit starts clearing out. Why?
Look.
because them motherfuckers done quit
Yeah.
on New Year's resolution. You know what I'm saying? And you know the
Look.
funny thing is, like, some gyms actually have like 20 boxes of pizza sitting at the front door because they've realized how full of shit people are when they come in. They utilize the pizza for like recruitment drives, and so they already
That's
know
insane.
who they dealing with. They've already
That's
know they know
insane.
who they're marketing to, and people just don't have the willpower to do the right thing. People don't have the willpower or the personal integrity to do what needs to be done. You have to make sacrifices in the world and time and day where people want to have it all. You cannot have it all. You have to sacrifice something. You have to sacrifice your leisure most of the time. You have to sacrifice your reality TV shows most of the time. You got to sacrifice your sports shows most of the time if you want to get out there and actually lose some weight,
Change your body.
actually get in shape. It ain't even about
Yeah.
just losing weight. Because, like Pat said, over the last 10 years, I've lost over 100 pounds. A lot of people don't believe it because I'm still a pretty big guy, but I'm not big. I'm not sloppy by any means. You know what I'm saying? And it's because I consistently worked at it, and in small increments and things of that nature, I worked to get here. Pat, with over the last year, lost about 100 pounds because he was working it, and we were there, watching him count his calories, um, watching him
Mm-hmm.
drop down to build back up. We were there for the whole process. It takes will and determination. If you don't have it, you won't get it.
That I've like I say, I've been a part of fitness and exercise my whole life. I've been watching dedicated people who are serious about diet and exercise change their bodies. People who've had total lifestyle changes. When I'm in the gym, two different types of black people in the gym. We just said it. There are black people in the gym who take diet and exercise serious. You can see the results. You can see the changes in their body. And there are black people who just go to the gym. The results aren't the same. They're not getting the changes that they need. I know some people who've been losing weight for 5 years and they look the same. And I know people who there's one young lady I'm thinking about. She said, I'm losing weight. And guess what she actually did? She lost weight. She was serious about it. So come on. So once again, let's not even think about adopting these victim mindsets of telling us that we have to be obese because we live under a system of white supremacy, when we have mounds and mounds and mounds of historical evidence to show that that is not true. And we have present day evidence to show that that is not true. It is up to us to make ourselves healthier. It is up to us to make sure that we have access to fresh foods. It is up to us to make sure that we change our lifestyles. Like PC said earlier, our oppressor is not concerned with making sure that we're healthier. That is our job. That is our job. And if we're going to sit around and say, well, y'all the ones made racism what it is, so it's y'all job to fix it. Well, it's our job to not be oppressed. But it's unproductive to even feed into a mind state that we have to be obese because the system of white supremacy exists. That's just we can't accept that. No.
Well, and I just want to say this, and then I'll be done. Research. Like your body's your temple. You only get one for now. That might change later. Research what you're doing to it. Yep. And do what works within reason. But like, don't listen to somebody trying to give you a sales pitch. It's the same as with voting. If somebody's trying to explain to you how voting works and you don't understand, that's cool. Somebody trying to tell you who to vote for, it might not be somebody you want to have political conversations with. It's the same with dieting. If somebody is trying to explain to you the way the human body works and you don't know, Cool. Have that conversation. Then go research it because they might be wrong. Somebody trying to tell you what to eat is probably not somebody you want to have a conversation with. And I'll say that I brought up the keto diet simply because a lot of the stuff presented in the keto diet and the keto diet as a whole, like everything else, it works for those that it works for. For the vast majority of people, it don't work. Like Joe said, diets don't work in general. But you know, they present a lot of arguments that are just counter to the way the human body works. And it's not just keto. You see it with vegans and vegetarians, which there's nothing wrong with having a plant-based diet. We should all have a plant-based diet. But plant-based and plant-only are two separate things, which if plant-only works for you, great. But to tell somebody else that your body wasn't designed to eat meat, well, now you've entered into the territory of the two that thinks she's a 10. You've entered into the state of delusion. You know, to tell people that meat rots inside of your stomach when the definition of something rotting is it being processed by bacteria, which is exactly what happens to the plants that you eat. It's like now you're being foundationally flawed in the argument that you're presenting. So I have a problem with the sales pitches from all of the people making dietary claims. If somebody, not all of them, because some of them, they just tell you the science and the boom, 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 and then they leave it at that. You make your own decision. I got no beef with them people. But anybody telling you you need to be on this diet, you need to cut your carbs, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. No, don't talk to those people. Talk to the people that's explaining to you, well, if you carbs do this, so if you cut them, this potentially could happen. But there are some alternatives here too. Like you could do this, or you could do this, because the human body is an adaptation machine. It adapts.
Yep.
So that's what I want to say, especially as it pertains to your health. Because health is, once you lose health, health is like time. Once you lose it, you can't get it back.
Yep. Hey, look, it's on us to make sure that we maintain our health and we put ourselves to where we need to be. But we are not adopting these victim mentalities, and you're not going to sit here and convince me that I have to be a victim or I have to be obese or my quality of life has to be less than because of the system of racism and white supremacy. When on this channel, I have mounds and mounds and mounds of evidence and examples of Black people who face way more racism than we have, that overcome way more and was able to create what they wanted for themselves, including changing their bodies. So health starts with a mindset. Change our mindset, we can change our bodies. I'm gonna leave it at that. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin. Remember, FetLifeStation.com, 7 p.m. tonight. Link is in the description for that. Support. Let's go ahead and run this channel on up. Let's go ahead and get the 100,000. I appreciate everybody who made 2023. 2023 was a good year for On the Shoulders of Giants. We started slow, but that momentum got us rolling, and we had a good year. So I want to make 2024 better than 2023, and that's going to be with you all's help. So let's keep this thing rolling, but we got to be healthy. We got to be healthy. Holla at y'all.